All right, let's dive right into it. You know, the essence of language is so fascinating. I mean, take the phrase, he has guts. It's more than just a statement. It's a compliment, a challenge, even a badge of honor, depending on the context. It reminds me of this time when I went skydiving. Everyone in my group was terrified, but I literally had to muster up every ounce of guts to jump out of that plane. Can you imagine the moment when you're staring down at the earth from thousands of feet?
Oh wow, that sounds intense. Did you, have a moment where you almost backed out? I mean, jumping out of a plane. Yikes! So, what's the deal with people calling others gutsy?
Great question. When someone says, that was gutsy, they're often acknowledging courage in the face of fear or uncertainty. It's like giving props to someone who goes above and beyond, right? Equivalent to someone who, let's say, stands up to a bully or even takes a big risk in their career, like starting a new business during a recession.
I see what you mean. That's super interesting. Speaking of business, I always wonder about entrepreneurs who dive in headfirst. I mean, they're basically like the daredevils of the economy. But, what's this about making mistakes?
I made a big mistake. That's such a powerful phrase. We've all been there, right? One time, I invested in what I thought was a foolproof investment. Turns out, it was a total flop. I lost a pretty penny on it. But it taught me so much about doing thorough research before jumping into anything.
Whoa, I can totally relate. It's like that moment when you buy a fancy gadget, and then it turns out to be just a total waste. But back to your story. Were you, really upset about it?
Of course. Like anyone else, I had that moment of despair. But here's the kicker. After I bounced back, I realized the value of resilience. It's like a great movie plot. Every hero has their down moments before they rise again. You can't forget about the lessons hidden in those mistakes. It's what makes us human, you know?
Oh, totally. That makes me think of that saying, don't forget about me, what's up with relationships after a big mistake?
Exactly. He stabbed me in the back is such a visceral phrase, isn't it? Imagine the feeling of betrayal. It's profound. It's like opening a door only to find out it leads to a cliff. But that's also where you learn about trust. And honestly, it can lead to much stronger bonds when you reconnect.
Wow, that's deep. So do you think, working through conflicts can repair those broken bridges? I mean, sometimes it just feels better to hide away.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's about finding the right space to talk. Let's talk somewhere else. Moving to a neutral ground can help avoid escalating tensions. Imagine, instead of a heated argument at home, you go to your favorite coffee shop. The aroma of coffee, the low chatter, it creates an entirely different environment for honest discussions.
A coffee shop sounds chill. So, how do you usually handle those awkward conversations?
You know, I don't mind if you smoke. Okay, not literally, but the metaphorical sense of I don't mind can mean acceptance of another's quirks. It's about embracing differences while navigating tough talks. And that's the beauty of communication. It's adaptable and can work in your favor.
That's really insightful. But what about when you literally don't have much time? How do you...
Yes. I don't have much time now, the perennial struggle. That reminds me of when I had a tight deadline and I was swamped with work. I had to prioritize. Sometimes, it's about saying, hey, I can help you, but let's set a time when I'm free. It's about respecting both your time and theirs. It's a delicate dance.
I can just envision, people lining up for your time? Speaking of which, you mentioned something about going to see the dentist?
Right. You ought to see a dentist. Now that's a direct call to action. It's not just about dental health. It's about taking care of ourselves, mentally and physically. Just like how we have to tend to our relationships. If something's off, be it our teeth or our emotional well-being, it's crucial we seek help.
So true. And I guess, when did you decide you finally wanted to take those steps?
It was after realizing that taking action is often daunting, but it leads to growth. From now on, let's study in the morning can reflect a commitment to change, embracing new routines, and sticking with it. You know, I always wear boots when it rains. There's a lesson in preparing for the unexpected, right?
Haha, boots. Love that analogy. It's like being ready for a surprise downpour. Okay, so do you think that, learning to speak a foreign language is tough?
Definitely. Learning to speak a foreign language well takes a lot of time, just in the way we lead our lives. It takes patience, and that can apply to so much more than just language. You grow, trip, and fall, but every step is part of the journey.
Wow, that's beautiful. So, how do we even approach mastering a language? What's the first step?
The first step is always about immersion, whether that's listening to music in that language, watching movies, or even just starting with basic vocabulary. It builds a foundation, much like a city's skyline. You start with a few buildings before the entire city comes together.
Ooh, I love that analogy. Do you think, watching cartoons in that language helps too? They're so colorful and engaging.